there's no such thing as a senior candidate attorney, okay? And they were going to pay me 8,000 rand. Ooh! I had to sell my car and I was heartbroken. I was sad. I remember thinking people were going to say, I can't afford my life. Yeah, wapa, can't why not reka koloi ela in. But I think candidate attorneys who work in small to medium-sized firms are better equipped than candidate attorneys who work in big firms. But and if you really, really want to, and if you ever wanted to work at the Constitutional Court, don't doubt yourself. Apply. Hi guys. So this is part 2 of my career advice to students. I had actually already shot this video on the same day that I shot the other one, but I left out quite a lot of information, so I decided to redo it again. If you haven't watched my career advice for students part 1, please do. Even if you're not a law student, it might help you. Okay, cool. So yeah, like I mentioned in my first video, I did BCom LLB. So that's a 5-year program, and basically you specialize in commerce subjects in your BCom degree, and I did finance and accounting, and then you take some modules, some law modules as well, so that by the time you're done with your BCom law degree, there's only a couple of modules that you're left with to complete your LLB, and then those modules you complete in the subsequent 2 years, right? Cool. After that, I started my articles in 2015. You do articles for 2 years. Now, when it comes to board exams take place in Feb and in August. But when you start your articles, assuming you start at the beginning of the year, like in Jan, like how we did it, we couldn't write board exams in Feb. So there's a rule that you have to have been in practice, or you have to have done articles for a certain amount of months or for a certain period before you write your board exam. So the earliest we could write our first board exams were in August. So it depends when you start your articles. So not everyone starts in Jan, but just keep in mind that you have to wait a certain amount of time before you write your board exams. I have a friend who actually, am I gonna lie now? Never mind. Let me take that out. I don't remember her story properly. Registering of your articles with the Law Society. I think she had registered her articles late, so they hadn't picked up her commencement date, and then she wrote in August, only for them to say to her she wasn't eligible to write in August because she hadn't served the certain period to write before she could write her articles, her board exams. So keep that in mind, right? Some people do their board exams all four in August, and some people do it over like the 2-year articles or over a certain amount of time. It depends. I guess if you're going to do law school and then also do if you're going to do law school and only do 1 year of articles, then you probably do it all in one sitting. Or if you're going to do it over 2 years, then you can choose. I did 3 in August and then 1 February the following year. Passed and then got admitted. And then at the firm that I worked at, my rotations were in road accident fund and trademark litigation. So generally you should get 4 rotations. So every 6 months, if you do articles for 2 years, every 6 months you should rotate to a different department. Depends on how that law firm works. Now I want to say, in terms of law firms, big law firms do not, in my opinion, train as well as small to medium-sized firms. And the reason why is because big law firms, their departments are very specialized and they are limited to one specific area of law, whereas in a small or medium-sized firm you'll find maybe that they get various work dealing with various aspects of law. And so if you're working in those firms, you're not only just going to deal with road accident, or you're not just going to deal with trademarks, but you're going to deal with everything that comes to that law firm, depending on what they do, right? So my thing, and I've always maintained this, is that if you're looking for experience, if you're looking to be trained, you should probably look at a small to medium-sized firms. To a small to medium-sized firm. Not to say that all big firms don't train. There are certain big firms, and you might have a better experience in a big firm where you really get the training that you need. But I think candidate attorneys who work in small to medium-sized firms are better equipped than candidate attorneys who work in big firms. But there's advantages and disadvantages for both. For instance, the pay in a big firm is way more than the pay in a small firm, and so maybe you care more about the money over the experience. So, you know, choose your battle. Sharp. So I did RAF and trademark litigation. After my articles, they kept me, and then I went to trademark prosecution. In hindsight, I wish I rotated in all 4 rotations instead of working in a year and a half in trademark litigation. And that's because at the end of my experience at that firm, I felt like trademarks was not the end of the road for me. Like, I wanted to branch out in other fields. Sharp. As an associate, I went to the trademark prosecution department. The nice thing about that is I got an experience in both sides of trademarks, and basically then my knowledge of trademarks as a whole, IP as a whole, was more broad than a person who just did trademark litigation or just trademark prosecution. But like I said, it wasn't the end for me. So career move, career decision, I'm leaving, I want to expand my knowledge. So I went to a manufacturing company, an automobile manufacturing company, right? A company that makes cars, in an in-house legal position. And that came with a lot of sacrifices and stuff. So I'll tell the story. When I started working when I started doing my articles, 6 months into my articles, I bought a car, and I really didn't have to, because my dad bought me a car in second year in varsity. My car was fine, you know, and yeah, my car was fine, was in good condition, was fairly new actually, 3 years, yeah, when I started working. And also, I stayed at home during varsity. I stayed at home when I was working because I didn't have to move. Home was literally 5 minutes away from work. So the reason why I bought a car is because I felt like, oh, I'm earning this money, but I don't know what to do with it, you know. So I was like, I'm buying a car. Biggest mistake of my life. Honestly, I shouldn't have done that. I should have rather saved the money. And I always say, I feel like I wasn't financially trained. I wasn't financially knowledgeable. I didn't know. Like, honestly, you could say, but it's obvious you must save. I was saving, but I could have saved way more and not bought that car. Right now, unfortunately, when I left the firm that I was working for and leaving this nice, comfortable salary, I had to get a pay cut when I went to this automobile manufacturing company, because it was a graduate legal trainee position, half a pay cut. And knowing that I was going to go into this job, I had to sell my car, and I was heartbroken. I was sad. I remember thinking people were going to say, I can't afford my life. Yeah, wapa, can't why not reka koloi ela in. But it wasn't because I couldn't afford it, but because I knew, well, I couldn't afford it because I was going to take this new job, but that new job was going to pay me less. But that was because I was trying to further or advance my legal career. Now, at this company, for the first 6 months, we were building cars, okay? Imagine an entire attorney building a car. For 6 months, we were building cars, and then after that, after the 6 months, I went to head office in the legal department. And yeah, in-house roles, the nice thing about it again is that it's not limited to just one area of law. So we did like competition matters, company secretary work, we did car default disputes, other things, contracts. Oh, that's where I learned contracts actually. But it wasn't quite the experience that I wanted, because a lot of the times when the work was getting, like when the matter was becoming serious, then we'd instruct an attorney. And I felt like, oh, but I can draft this thing. But then because of the nature of an in-house role, they don't do the work themselves. They have to outsource the work. And I was like, no, I'm not going to gain the experience I should be gaining if I stay in-house, especially because I left practice quite early in my career. However, as much as I did not gain, or I felt that I wanted to gain more experience than I was gaining at that automobile manufacturing company, that job actually opened doors for me. Despite the fact that I had half a paycheck cut, whatever, or despite the fact that I wasn't gaining the knowledge or the experience that I wanted to, like the substantive stuff that I wanted to, that job opened so many opportunities for me because I never had so many interviews in my life. So when I was still at the law firm, I was trying to get into different areas of law, like like get into another law firm, into a different department. But it was always, you don't have the experience, all you've done is trademarks. I got to this company and I started applying. I'm still applying for jobs, and yay, interviews are coming left, right, and center, you know. And it was a broad range of companies that were coming or giving me an opportunity, right? So I remember the first time when I was like, I want to go back to practice. I went to this law firm in Randburg for an interview where they specialize in criminal law, labor law, and I was so excited because I always wanted to do criminal and labor law. Unfortunately, these niggas are like, but you only know trademarks, so we can't employ you as an associate or as an attorney, like an admitted attorney, the person that you are. We can only offer you a senior candidate attorney. It was the first time I heard of the term senior candidate attorney. There's no such thing as a senior candidate attorney, okay? And they were going to pay me 8,000 Rand. I was like, you know what, I want to go back to practice, but not like this. This is like a further pay cut. Like, I couldn't, right? I was like, no, it's fine. My time will come. Then I got interviewed in like another international big firm, not firm, company. And then I got a job there as an analyst. And there we were going to be drafting contracts and stuff. That one was a good opportunity, but I was afraid. I remember thinking like, because the job requires contract drafting and I feel like I haven't gained that much in contract drafting at the company that I was working at, that this was going to be so challenging, and it still wasn't a law firm. So I was like, so I rejected that job opportunity. It was a very good one. Yeah, like it placed me almost at the footing of the law firm that I was working at. But I didn't take that job. And then, I got interviews at various places. And then eventually I went back to practice. And when I went back to practice, I won't say how I got back, but I went back to trademarks. Unfortunately, because still my knowledge in the legal field was still limited to trademarks. So when I went back to practice, I went back to trademarks. But it was tactical to say, okay, at least I'm back in practice. It's easier to move practice to practice than to move in-house to practice. Let me tell you something. Law firms, especially if you leave a law firm at an early stage in your career and you go in-house and you try to go back to law firms or in practice, they don't believe that you actually know the law, depending on how quick or how soon you left practice. Because in-house roles really don't train the way law firms train. So my advice would be, if you're going to go in-house and you are in practice, gain as much knowledge as you can in practice. Stay there as long as you can. So that if you decide when you're in-house position that, actually, I don't want this, I want to go back to practice. If you decide that you're able to get a job, because they'll be like, okay, cool, you spent a good amount of time in practice before you went in-house, so you must know the law. There must be some sort of knowledge, okay? So that's an advice that I would give you. Otherwise, you will struggle. So I was very grateful, even though I was going to trademarks, I was grateful to get back into practice. And then, because I wanted to still branch out the trademarks, field, I decided to study masters, and I studied my masters in labor law. Labor law really, honestly opened my eyes to the world of law. I learned so much in law, like more than I've ever learned in my entire career with my master's degree. It's coursework coursework and research report at WITS. And the modules that I took as electives, really, like administrative law and human rights in the marketplace, they were great modules. And they taught me a lot. In fact, they helped me now with my job that I'm working now at the Constitutional Court. And then my core modules are individual labor law and collective labor law. And hopefully I'll finish this year. My research report, this semester, because it's a part-time degree, 2 years. I started last year. So this is my last 6 months. And my research report is due next month. We're almost there, crossing fingers. But yes, last year as well, I decided to apply to the Constitutional Court. Now, if you go to career fair days at school, at your varsities, you should have seen them there before. If you haven't, then let me tell you, the Constitutional Court takes law clerks or law researchers every year for a year contract, right? Your contract either starts in Jan or July, but it's only for a year, and the applications open up in Jan and they close end of March every year. And they obviously then they are hiring for the following year always. So if you can, and if you really, really want to, and if you ever wanted to work at the Constitutional Court, don't doubt yourself. Apply. I know a lot of people apply at the Constitutional Court, but you never know what happens. Your application really could be the one that gets considered, and you could be like me, who thought, actually, I'm applying for nothing. I want to go, but actually, I don't think I'll get there because imposter syndrome, like not everyone goes to the Constitutional Court, but it's really, really possible. And many people go to the Constitutional Court. I've seen directors leave their positions and decide to go to the Constitutional Court. If you're a graduate, you're about to graduate, you can still apply at the Constitutional Court. Anyone can apply, and it's such a big learning experience, especially for any person in the legal profession. You will gain so much knowledge that will help you in whatever it is that you're doing, wherever you are, however far you are in your career. I think it's very important. So all these things that I've decided to do in my legal career really have brought me to where I am right now. And besides all of these things, I've gotten so many, even when I went back to practice after the automobile manufacturing company, and I went back and I went to do trademarks, I was still applying. I was actually quite silly because I knew Concord was coming, but I was applying for jobs everywhere. I wanted to see, where can I go? Don't be like me. Don't be a habitual applier for jobs without a clear understanding of what it is that you're doing. But I will also say, go to as many interviews as you can. I went to so many interviews, okay? I've been to BMW, Mercedes-Benz. I went to Ambitious and Entertainment. I don't understand why people don't come back to you after you apply for a job. Can you say, did I get it or not? What's happening? I went to another film and production company where they make movies. I got the job, but unfortunately they were not going to pay a lot. BMW never came back to me. Mercedes-Benz, they were looking for somebody who's knowledgeable in data protection, plus it was a specialist job. So unfortunately, because I've never done data protection, I didn't get that job. I've been, yes, when I'm thinking about all the interviews that came, and I honestly think it's because of all these things that I did. It makes no sense, but it all together, you become sort of a good candidate to these people, so they'll consider you, this person looks like they know a lot. They're doing masters in labor law, they've been to an automobile manufacturing company, they do trademarks, it's just whatever. So go out and do as much as you can, and then see where you end up, and go to as many interviews as you can, because even if you don't get the job, you really gain a lot from just being in an interview room and the questions that they ask you. You gain so much just how to answer questions, expecting what questions they will ask. Do that.
I also just want to say, guys, that as much as you should go out and explore as many opportunities as possible, at some point you need to settle in your career. So there's no point in going to all these interviews or changing jobs every year because you don't know what you want to do. I'm saying go out and find out what you want to do, and once you found that thing, be consistent, stay in a position, gain experience, become an expert in a specific field. The sooner you do that, the better.
Yeah, that's basically where I am right now. So I hope this helps somebody in their career, or it will in the future. If you guys need any help with anything, shout and I can try help under the limited capacity that I have, because I am swamped with work. But yeah, all the best, guys, and I hope honestly that this helps. That's really all I'm trying to do, is help somebody tomorrow make the right decision. Thanks for watching. Please like, please share, please subscribe. See you guys next time.